Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out.
Let's reset and reintroduce ourselves. I'm Weekend Gabe, holding you down on Weekend at Gabe's on Twitch TV. Sam, the real Sam Crane, holding us down on the producer side and the co-hosting duties. And our next guest is one of the best new faces, the best new voices. He's not really new, but he is someone that you need to get to know because he has something to say and he's bringing it. Joining us here on Weekend at Gabe's, the third is joining us, and he was just there a moment ago. There he is.
Hey, look at him.
Hey, how's it going? Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm living well, man. I've been like running around all day, so it's good to be seated.
You are a busy individual these days, man. It just doesn't seem like you ever stop moving. Like there's so much going on for you.
Man, I try, and then it gets too much, and then I gotta stop and do it over.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. You are, like I was mentioning, and I'm not overselling this, I think you are one of the best new voices in the city of Chicago, either on the spoken word side or in hip hop. I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal, and we'll get into your new releases. But the new Preface Flows record is absolutely stupid, dumb, just ridiculous. Your flow, your delivery in the last several years has progressed to new heights. I'm pretty sure you know this, but to see the growth is really exciting. Talk about this new Preface Flows release that you put out, and what you were. I imagine that you were just like barring out, but I know that there was also a mission behind it as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. It's the first time those adjectives have been used to describe my music, so that's great. I'm all for it. Man, so for Preface Flows, really, it was the mission was let's do our best to showcase how much time has passed, right? But also how much better, you know what I'm saying? How much progress has been made in the last year since I've been like last seen, I guess.
Right.
And so being able to kind of like be in that space now of like I'm a writer, I'm a rapper. That's where I am in my head. And now how do I showcase that to other people? Because I've been through I've had a bunch of different experiences, right? And then like so much time has passed. I want to be able to showcase that through my work. And so, but also in the light of an album coming soon, right? We want to kind of just like set up what that album looks like. What are the, not only skill wise or lyrically, but just what experiences, the span of experiences and subjects that are going to be covered in the album. We're going to go ahead and talk about them now and just try to pack them into this one song. And yeah, that's where that was. It was all a setup.
I personally love the intentionality of sort of everything about it. You know, the video and sort of the wordsmithing that goes on first. So I guess we'll start with the words. When did you fall in love with words and word flips? Because there are some incredible bars on this specific
absolutely
song.
That's a great question. When did I fall in love with words? I think there are two really defining moments. So I grew up in a very Christian household, and so my access to hip hop was very limited when I was like super young. But my father's a poet, so I just grew up in Chicago around very raw like poets and just very great authors and storytellers. I grew up listening to a lot of Lecrae. That was an artist that really did it for me when I was growing up in my youth. He's a Christian hip hop artist. Also,
Right.
Mos Def kind of got snuck into my catalog, and so like that was a very early taste. of like just of like great music making and just what lyricism looked like. One of my favorite joints is with him into Live Quality is redefinition in the Black
Oh,
Star.
classic. Yo,
One,
that's the
two,
Um,
Sunday morning
three.
joint. You gotta play that every Sunday
oh
morning.
my
That's religion,
gosh,
baby. That's what we're
I
talking about.
love it so much. So like having that, having a lot of like Kanye and Common being played, really just like very raw, like very intentional with their words, great lyricists. And I remember how it made me feel. You know what I mean? Like just the simple idea of like you could have just said it this way and it would have been easier or just like easier to digest. But the way that you did arrange these words, the word usage, the verbiage that you did use
Right.
took a little longer to process, but also did something for me while I was processing it. So that was a
Right.
great thing for me. And so like I always remember, and I was like, I want that to be especially because like the music industry is like so like there's so much going on at one time, right? And so it's very difficult to have like to gain like a decent amount of like traction when everybody is dropping music. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I want to make my music stand out. And a lot of that came from like the word usage and all that came from reading a lot of poetry, reading a lot of books when I was young. And yeah, I was like, yo, I want this word choice to like hit where it's not just like cool or like wow, but also like whoa. That's what I'm
Yeah.
aiming for a lot more is the whoa than the wow.
You definitely knocked that out of the park. I want to ask a quick question about your father. Is he second the poet, or what's the deal on that?
So, oh man. Um, so for those who know my real name, my dad is the second. His dad is the first of the lineage, and I am the third. And so that just kind of became my stage name. He never really, you know what? Not that I like from what I remember, never really took a stage name. Just kind of had his name as was. Aurelius is our name. Aurelius means the golden one.
Mm.
And he kind of just kept the name as far as I know. And so I had like options now that I've like been given, and neither of them had nicknames, so they just kind of had to stick with it. And so I utilizing my options as well as I can.
Word, word. And then linking up
Yeah.
with Gold Haze for the beat. Obviously, I mean, you say it at the beginning of the song, like the Aurelius and Gold Haze thing. How did that come together? How did y'all link up?
So I've been a fan of Go Hayes for quite a while. I remember like hearing a lot of his work, and I didn't even know it was him. Because he was like more on the production side, and so like then looking into it, um, I like became a fan of like the beats that he made. About a year ago, so in April last year, I bought my own MPC to start like making beats. I tried to like tap into production a little bit, and automatically just became like more of a fan. Like now knowing even the basics of like what goes into creating a beat and then creating like a good beat, even became more of a fan of all the producers that I knew and like just really going into them. And so like follow him heavy and just like watching him work, just watching him work, whether he was on live working or whether he was like posting some video that of like a beat he had on Twitter. And I was like, yo, he makes the music that is perfect for what I do.
Right.
And what I'm saying, like always showing love to his work and him also being a rapper, just and so I reached out. I was like, hey, I'm looking for beats, and he pointed me in the right direction. He has like a very solid catalog, and I invested, and we got to work.
I want to start a little bit at the beginning. So you were a part of the Chicago Young Authors, Shy Media. You took advantage of all these resources that were.
Shout out that L-Tab reference in the song too. That didn't go amiss, did it?
Bless.
So you're building your strengths, and you rapped in the SoundCloud rapper that like you're a product of some of your peers now who also went through those same paths. Talk a little bit about like what that experience meant to you, and how did it help develop you as not only as just a hip hop artist, but also strengthen the spoken word component of your talent.
Here's the thing. I like growing up. I really was like really tapped into a lot of like music, but was not as tapped into what was going on like near me, like locally, in the city. And so growing up and like being, you know, becoming more aware of like that what how much was going on in the city and how much like fruit was being bare. I was like such a fan of like how it was going. And so when I was younger, my dad and like a lot of his friends would tell me a lot about Brother Mike, and Brother Mike being like a leader in the U media spaces and just the artistic space in Chicago as a whole. Um, and before his passing, like how much of an impact he had on like the people that were coming up under him, and how much you know those people now being my peers, and like I hear them talk about him a lot, and it's just like, you know, how can we continue this, right? Like that, let's not just make this like a moment, but also how can we take what we did learn and these lessons that we did get from, you know what I'm saying, this amazing leader, and like figure out how we can move forward with it. And a lot of it that I got from it and just listening was just like the idea of like collaboration and cultivating safe spaces and collaborative spaces for people who want to work in Chicago. And I think we kind of like enforce that every time we say like, "Hey, I love your work. How can we make something great together?" You know what I mean? And so getting the opportunity back in I want to say 2018 or 2019 to host the U Media Open Mics um, was a huge thing for me because I knew what ground I was coming into, right? I knew what shoes I had to fill, and it's a huge pressure because like a lot of the time you realize, first of all, like the influence in the space that you're in, and just like thinking about how can I be the most useful, not just for me, but for the people that are also coming into this space, right? And just the constant like support on both ends. I mean, I'm talking about like me supporting them and giving them the tools and resources that and the time I had to make their art better and to find out what they want to do in their art, and then them turning around and supporting me in ways I wouldn't even thought of was super fruitful. And I was like, gee, why not keep this going? And so, you know, finding other ways to do that through Young Chicago authors and through all the different spaces has been a huge blessing in a lot of different ways.
And one of the collaborators you met along the way was Jack James, who helped you do the video. And we talked a little bit sort of about intentionality in words and in the music. But there was a lot of intentionality in the visuals as well, with sort of you on the basketball court with the chaos going on around you. Was that wild to film, first off? And then second off, how did you link with Jack, and what was the collaboration process there like?
So I had a good friend about a year and a half ago that she introduced me to them. My first time headlining a sold out show. I was up north, and she had invited them to come and shoot and like take pictures and whatnot for the show. I had no idea. Super grateful for that to this day. And so I'm there at the show, and I see these like these white guys come in, and they're like taking pictures and stuff. I'm like, oh, and they introduced me. So they all went to, if I remember right, they all went to Columbia together. And so I want to say I met Matt, and I met I met Matt first. Matt was one of the first people I met, and then he connected me with his homies who also dealing in the videography and photography and film, and like we just kind of like made it work. And so we met when I was like mid album process, like mid like trying to conceptualize what the album was going to be. And so they were one of the victims I had of like dumping these ideas onto them like for visuals and stuff like that. But they took it like super well, really good at what they do. They're super patient with me because I'll be having like 70 different things happening, but I know exactly what it is in my head. Just trying to translate it is like this task. And they're super patient with me. And they also came with their own ideas that they were like, hey, this is great, but also it would be more like refined and it would work if we did it like this. You know what I mean? And so it was like, you know, I just was like really blessed to be in that position to meet them and have that access and those resources, and just like being able to connect with them has been great. The shooting preface flows was a whole thing. I really enjoyed that whole process. It was kind of crazy doing it on the court because we, didn't know everybody that was there. We didn't know all who was going to show up or who was going to be there. And so it was like, we're just going to work out the way we worked that out. We talked to the guys who were hoping before we started. We let them hear the song before it dropped. They really enjoyed it. I was like, cool, I'll be back here in a week or so and we're going to shoot here. And they were like, oh, bet, I'm down for that. And so they were hoping. And the idea was that in the midst of like everything that's going on, there are things that are like there's like difficult to watch. There are things that are like exciting to watch. And there's a lot happening, but there's something I'm trying to do and I want to be very intentional in doing it. And so I want the focus to stay here while I like that's my focus, is being focused amongst all of that. And
Right.
so when we went to the court and shot that was like the perfect metaphor for me. Was like, this is my first time trying to perform a full 3-minute rap with no breaks in the midst of one of my favorite like pastimes ever. And so like there was a time where like one of them was like he was on like a fast break, he passed it up. He went up for the layup and missed while I was rapping. And I can't remember where it is, but in the video I looked up and saw him miss and was just like, I really wish he made that shot. And like then like continued to rap with it and do it, and it was like that's like really what's happening now, is that I have so many like homies and different people like dropping music and dropping visuals, and like there's like news happening here and news happening here. There's a lot happening, but I want to be able to like stay right, be very intentional with the path that I'm on and focus on that, which is straight, which is why most of the video is like me walking down this straight the center of the court and walking back. And so that was a thing and that was one of the easiest videos for me, really, because Jack and Matt and Logan just had it. They had it in their head just how I had it in my head. And this being our like what 5th or 6th project together, like we just had it in our head like, this is how this is gonna go, and like communicating the idea and then be say like, okay, this is what I want, but like, how is it actually gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, I'm bringing the idea, I want an Iron Man suit, and we're like, hey, and Jack and Logan, they're like, hey, we do not have a $1 billion Iron Man suit or technology that can like keep your heartbeat up, but here's a flashlight that you can put here on your chest and makes it look good. And you know what I mean? Like, and they make it look great. And so I'm super grateful for them. They're amazing.
We have a few minutes left with you, but I want to get into sort of the growth that we see from the Cursor project to Director's Cut. And it just feels like you took light years and steps between the two. And some of my thoughts were, with Cursive, it kind of felt like you were like really trying to transition from being a spoken word artist into being an MC. And then now here on Director's Cut, like you're beginning to master the art of slowing down, pacing yourself, writing stronger songs. Talk about like what that 2 years or however long it was between those projects for you to sort of grow into the MC that you are now.
Oh man. Yeah, making that transition with Cursive being my first project. I'm so thankful for Cursive. I had maybe just as much like vigor as I had for this album, but less idea of less ideas of how to execute. So I had a great passion for that project and for that EP, and it was like, how do I want to make this work? That was my first project period of me just rapping and making music. And so a lot of my first hooks are in that project. My first, like verses are in that project. And like being able to be like, hey, this is how I want to present. You know what I mean? Like, this is my intro, my debut into, I feel like my official debut into like the the rapping or the music world or the music scene. I've dropped singles before, but like that was the first time I've had to sit down and focus on what I want a series of songs to look like. What is the theme between these songs, right? And so Cursive just kind of ran together like Cursive. I mean, it's just kind of like, this is how I want this to go. I Cursive taught me a lot about what I need to do for the next project. That was a real thing. I remember I did not do any rollout for Cursive. I probably announced like the week before. I was like, hey, 7 songs of dropping of mine for the first time, and be ready in 7 days. And it was like, you know, and there are a bunch of different styles for like rollout and like promo, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I really just wanted to drop music. And so a lot of my music in there was like, I want to show you how much I can do in this set amount of time. And now, you know what I'm saying, having time pass and like, you know, I've rapped a whole lot and made a whole lot of different types of music, and now just like had time go on, I'm now very comfortable in where I am and how I make music, how I present to other people in my artistry. And so I don't mind, you know what I mean, putting some space in between, not only just when I drop, but when I am rapping just or making music, allowing myself that space to less like numbers and more just quality, right? So just being able to say like, hey, I could give you the da 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 and have it all be there, or I can give you this one by one, but every single one, that space in between is going to be worth it because the next joint is, you know what I'm saying, high quality. So I think that project really got all of the I guess like the jitters out as far as like, oh, how are people going to receive my music? What does it look like? I got a lot of love for that project. So much so that there are still, like, when I go to perform publicly, I grab at least one of those songs for my set because it's been like I've gotten that much love for it, right? So being able to say, like, I've gotten love for this, I've learned a lot of what to do and what not to do, and now I'm in a space where I'm comfortable and I'm not concerned about like wanting to be heard so much, but also what specifically I have to say, and just being able to put more space in between the punches. That's what it is for me.
Word. 2 quick questions before you go. First,
Yeah.
you said there was an album coming. Can we get a Weekend at Gabe's exclusive date of drop, or is it too early for that?
It is too early, but I like where this is going. Today's July 17th. We're looking at September, mid-September.
Word.
Yep.
Word. And then my second question is, can we expect a semi-pro J. Cole-esque basketball career future for yourself?
I have always wanted to play basketball on any professional level, and if Turkey called right now and said, come play where we are, I would go. There will be a lot of basketball being done throughout the rollout of this album. We're gonna have a lot of fun, a lot of visuals, a lot of things that you wouldn't even think are related to the music making process, but are, that I hope people really enjoy. So hooping will be done. That's for sure.
That's, you can probably, I'll take that. I'll take that for sure.
Sounds good. Third the Poet, thank you so much. Preface Flows is out there. That's a new single from our guest tonight, Third the Poet, on all digital streaming platforms. Go put that on your life and look out for the new album this fall. If you want to drop it on September 22nd, Gabe's birthday, please, you can do that.
Got you. Mine is on the 18th, so I'm aiming for that era. Yeah.
Virgo Squad,
Sure.
I like it.
Appreciate you all.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. This is amazing. Y'all have a good one.
Peace, man.
All right. Third the Poet joining us here on Weekend at Gabe's. And that's going to wrap our show tonight. Woo! A lot to get into today. We got through it, but man, I just love talking to creators, people who are making things available and just doing really cool
stuff. I just want to let the people know right now, keep an eye on that kid because he is going to shatter the entire earth. So keep your eyes firmly on Third the Poet. Huge things coming in September, and from there, sky's the limit.
Man, I can't wait to hear it. I'm a fan. Exactly. I'm ecstatic. We had a great week of guests too. Rhymester and Mees on Tuesday joined us, and then of course tonight Chicago Hip Hop Theater and the Third the Poet also joined us as well. Next week we're scheduled to have Jack Reedy, who is a contributor to the Chicago Reader. He has a it's called Electric Word Life, which is a collection of Prince essays, and he asked the question what if Purple Rain was a double album? So we'll get into that. And then also Chicago MC Millie Mango has a new record out as well. So she's going to be joining us next Tuesday. So more content, more great voices, more great energy. I'm really looking forward to next week for all the great guests that we're going to have lined up.
Absolutely.
All right, don't forget to give us a follow on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, at The Real Sam Kramer. Also subscribe to the show on YouTube and help us out with our numbers there. Thanks to everyone who subscribed to us on Instagram this week and gave us a real push. I love every one of you that did that for us. So thank you. All right, that's our time. Sam, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Oh, you got to sign off like you sign off.
I will. Don't forget to share, support, and show love. Those are the 3 S's, and they will make you a better person. So do that when you can. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for tuning in to Weekend at Gabe's with Weekend Gabe. Nerese, I love you. Enjoy. Take care.
Peace. Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head, and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.